Hey guys, right, on this video I'm going to show you how to use paint. Now you may see me looking up. The reason for this is that at one point, because I'm going to show you what I'm doing, I'm actually going to tilt my screen downwards because I'm operating from a laptop with a built-in webcam. Obviously I need the camera to point down. Once I close the lid I can't see the screen, so I've actually thrown my screen onto another monitor, which is my TV, which is right above me. So if you see me looking up like this, then you know why. Right, so for this you need paint, you need your figure, obviously, you need your palette, which is either one of these. I use my wet palette, the one I showed you in a previous video, but the principle is exactly the same. So I'm going to use my wet palette. So first of all, I'm going to get my paint. In this particular case I'm using XV88 from Citadel. All I'm doing on this particular project is I'm just touching up little bits. I've base coated all the colours on my models, which obviously I'll show you another time. And all I'm doing is I'm just going to do some touch up work. So find myself a decent brush. Right, okay, so I'm going to use my trusty orange one, which is a 00. Now, give your pot a good shake. Personally, I like to tip my paints upside down. When a pot's been standing there, obviously all the pigments separate. All the pigments go to the bottom. It gets really thick like mud. All the water's at the top. You're mixing it because obviously you want it all mixed together. Now, because we know that all the thick stuff's fallen to the bottom, turn it upside down, so all the thick stuff wants to go down to the bottom, which is the top, which is now the bottom. It just gives it a little bit of additional help. I've heard people say to throw a little ball bearing in there. I don't know if it works so well for pots, but it certainly works for the dropper bottles like Model Colour. It's the same principle as a spray can. When you shake it, you can hear that ball bearing going. So give it a shake for about 10-20 seconds. If you've not used it for a long time, or you've not used it ever, give it a really good shake, maybe about a minute or so. And I like these pots. They've got this little bit there. If you do it properly, you can get the lid to stay open. But saying that, I still prefer bottles. So what I'm going to do is just going to get enough paint, and the lid's to shut on me. Just going to get enough paint for my needs, and I'm just going to pop it. I will shut the lid, and I'm just going to pop it. Let me move this down now. There we go. Right, so I'm just going to pop it into an area. Now my palette is actually very wet, so I don't really need to add any water to that. It is a base paint, so it's going to be nice and thick. If you're using a normal palette, in fact I will use it with a normal palette as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop a little bit in there, and then I'm going to get some water. I always use a bottle, and then what I do is I'll just pop a little bit of water into a spare bit, and then I can just get the water in as I need, give it a bit of a mix until I've got the consistency I want. Like I say, I always use a wet palette. This one's actually a little bit too wet, so I haven't needed to add any water, but what I would do is I would just add water, and then I'm ready to go. Now, the basic principles of painting, don't know if you remember when you were a kid. I'm going to use this brush because it's a bad brush, but what you used to do as a kid was you'd get your pot, you'd dab the paint on, and then away you go, and you paint. Now, you don't actually need to do that. What you actually should be doing is get just a little bit on the tip, and then just roll your brush. I don't know if you can really see, but that brings the bristles to a tip, and then that means that you can paint more precisely. Do you see the difference? we've got the exact same brush. We've got thinner paint, but we've just controlled the bristles a little bit more. So if I go back into the pot and I go dab, doesn't matter how hard I try, I cannot get enough control on that. In fact, I'm actually doing very, very well here. There we go, a little slip there. So what we do is, I'm taking this off because this is the thick paint. We've got nice thin paint and we're just controlling the bristles. Do you see? I don't know if you can see the writing on the brush. We're just giving it a little bit of a roll towards the end. The paint is thin, so it's not going to make so much damage, and we just use the very tips of the brushes, and then we just, so do you see there, we've got this one there and this one there. That's been done by rolling the brush. This one, it's paint straight out of the pot, no rolling. And you see that although I did quite nice thin lines, not as thin as the top and the bottom, I did lose control. Whereas this one, I actually did that quite rushed. And I've actually painted on paper there. So obviously on a plastic model, it's going to be a lot better. So there you go. That's your first introduction to painting, I hope. So I'm just going to wash my brush. Always wash your brush out straight away. I'm using my lovely Citadel pot, water pot. I actually got this today. I ordered it on eBay a couple of days ago. I just like the concept. It doesn't actually work with this wrong size brushes, but I just like the way that you can put your paints in and they'll just sit there. If you use a proper size brush, what happens is it holds the brush there, so they're not right on the bottom, they're actually suspended in water, and then you can just use your brush again. And obviously, because I've got a wet palette, I can actually just get the excess water out on the palette, which also then just confirms that it's clean. So that even though I've got horrible dirty water, you can tell I've been doing red earlier, can't you? So there you go. I'll give you a little free bonus tip on the wet palette. Using kitchen paper and never ever toilet roll. Any excess paint you've got, if you're going to do some painting later on, all you need to do is just pop the lid on and it will stay wet. It'll stay wet so long as that paper underneath is wet, that will stay wet. If you actually want to just clean it up, get yourself a kitchen roll and just give it a dab. You see that the kitchen roll, it just sucks most of that up, and all that's doing is just prolonging the life of that paper. I mean, obviously it's not completely gone, but you could just as easily use that for a brown in the future, or yellow, or something similar. If you're a bit of a perfectionist, then obviously you're never going to use that section again. So there you go, that's how to paint. Please pop any comments in the section below. I'm just going to move the video up. Any comments in the section below. If you want me to do anything in particular, then I will do. And remember, this is a base colour. This particular rule only applies for for Citadel paints and possibly model colour. Base colours tend to be a little bit thicker, so don't go doing 100 layers and then you go, yeah, I know exactly how much water to add, and then do a base and then you're not adding enough water. Keep an eye on it. Maybe possibly get yourself a spare bit of plastic or something just before you brush. Just have a little look. Maybe paint this piece of plastic a nice bright colour, maybe a red or a blue. And when you paint on it, if you can just about see the colour underneath, you've probably got the right consistency. But they say milky consistency. Okay, so yeah, okay, comments below. I'd like to know what you want to see next. Take care. Bye bye.